Hey guys, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. So during yesterday's episode, we worked on our mystical agriculture farm here, and so we now have all of the tier 1, 2, and 3 seeds planted. Actually, that's technically not true. We're still missing marble seeds, basalt seeds, and limestone seeds, which are only tier 1, and we'll probably not end up using them, maybe besides the marble actually, for some Astral Sorcery, which is, I think, something we'll be getting onto today. Let's also give those extra tier 1 seeds their own crafter. There, so basalt, limestone, and marble. So yeah, we also added these crafters to craft down the essences that we're farming up here. So this effectively gives us infinite resources of all of these metals that you can see here, along with some other useful things we have on this side. Of course, we are still missing some seeds from tier 4 and above, which is something we'll be working on today actually. And so to do that, we have to progress a little bit further down Astral Sorcery, or actually quite a bit further down Astral Sorcery. So end of last episode, we built the Luminous Crafting Table, the Resonating Wand, and we also got some rock crystal production up and running. So the next steps in our chapter for Astral Sorcery here is to grab some constellation paper, which can only be crafted in this pack. We have to put some condensed stella, some parchment, which takes plutonium, some divine underpowder, which we have batch crafted, gypsum from the Bewitchment Distillery, although we do have recipes for all of this stuff, and the scribing tools from Thaumcraft, which of course have to be arcane workbenched. Okay, okay, this is going to be a lot of steps. Let's craft up 5 constellation papers to start off with. Okay, I put in all the recipes for the constellation paper. Let's see if we're missing anything. We don't appear to be, but these are some very expensive constellation papers here. And we have to still, unfortunately, craft manually with the arcane crafting table. Oh, and it's not going to send us them all at once either, because it's waiting on the runes crafting. Yeah, maybe passive runes is something we'll have to add here in the future. We'll see if it becomes necessary. So there is our 5 constellation papers. I believe this will give us all 5 of the major constellations from Astral Sorcery. And our quest. Let's store these away in our Astral Tome for later on. We're going to need these fairly soon. So yeah, looking ahead just a little bit, we need to make these glass lenses from Astral. And in this pack, we have to use Mekanism HDPE sheets. Of course we do, right? So we made these quite a while ago actually to get access to plastic from Industrial Foregoing. This was the first way that we unlocked these things. But the first time we made this, it was just a temporary setup. So we're going to have to set this process up once again. This is going to involve a bunch of PRCs, some electrolytic separators, and dealing with Mekanism Gasses again. So I think I've gathered all the materials we're going to need for this. The question is though, where do we want to put this? Most of our other Mekanism machines over in this corner of the base don't really have a lot of space next to them. So I think we'll set it over in this corner of the base, which is quickly becoming a very frequented location here. So the first process for this HDPE is to make some of these gases. We need both ethylene and oxygen. And I believe we also need hydrogen for this, and a source of water, which I guess is a liquid, but yeah. Okay, well the hydrogen is easy, along with the oxygen we just need an electrolytic separator. And we have an unending bowl here for the source of water, and a power cell for RF power. One of the other things we need for this process is biofuel. So I've just hooked up a ME interface to supply the sugar canes. We can basically pick any sort of biomaterial and crush it down into biofuel. And this we're going to PRC with our hydrogen and also our water supply. This is going to give us substrate along with an ethylene byproduct. Okay, I moved the electrolytic separator over to the same side here. And I've placed a pressurized reaction chamber which takes the biofuel, the hydrogen and the water and will output substrate for us. So then the substrate we have to mix with oxygen and liquid ethylene, and this will give us our HDPE, which we then have to craft into the sheets. And this is what we need for our glass lenses. Alright, so I think I got all of this set up. From this PRC we're extracting the substrate from the top side of the machine, which is buffered in this drawer. And then from the drawer the substrate goes into this PRC where it collects the oxygen from the right hand side of this electrolytic separator. And we also give this liquid ethylene, which is coming out as a gas from this PRC. So we take the gas on this pressurized tube, send it through the rotary condensator to turn it into a liquid, and then send it through this fluid conduit into the back of this pressurized reaction chamber as liquid ethylene. And then that will combine it with the oxygen and give us HDPE pellets, which are then input to this enrichment chamber. I decided to use the enrichment chamber rather than the crafting recipe here, as we can do a 3-to-1 rather than 8-to-1. And then from there it goes out on the top side of the machine. Unfortunately for the Mekanism machines you have to input and output from separate sides, which makes things a little bit more complex, and the fact that we don't have gas conduits in this pack. But yeah, the output is taken from the top of this machine, and we have our HDPE sheets in this drawer. All that's missing is a few energy and speed upgrades, as these machines are glacially slow. There we go, so now everything has max upgrades in there, and we can upgrade this crusher even more, although I don't think our production of HDPE needs to be that fast. We do have to void the excess oxygen here though to keep this running. And all we're missing is some conduit facades to hide these ugly cables. Unfortunately we can't do much about this thing. I don't think there's facades for mechanism cables. Oh, and we'll also need a drawer controller here with a storage bus on there. Nice, so this is just going to keep running and giving us passive HDPE sheets, which we're going to use in the luminous crafting table to craft some glass lenses. This is a cool animation, isn't it? I really like this. And there's our quest. Let's maybe look into the Starlight Crafting Altar. This actually requires us to make some liquid starlight first of all, which is going to require the Lightwell. And in this pack, of course it takes a witch's cauldron. Although I did anticipate this, back when we were doing bewitchment, I did craft up some spare witch's cauldrons. Actually, I didn't craft up some spare witch's cauldrons, I have ovens here. Yeah, so we're going to have to craft a couple of witch's cauldrons for this. Trying to decide how many we should go for here. I'm not sure if the starlight generation in this pack has been changed at all. I think we'll start off with 4 Lightwells. That might be overkill, I guess we'll soon find out, but 4 seems like a decent number. So to get the cauldrons, we need 4 Evilcraft purifiers. Sprinkle on some Salus Mundus. And more infusion crafts. Oh yeah, that's a lot of essence. That's going to take a bit. Okay, this should be the last witch's cauldron that's crafting right now, but while we wait on that thing, we can also look at getting some Astral Sorcery illumination powder, which is made with mana powder we have on passive here from the Mana Infusion, and we also have the Divine Underpowder, which leaves this yellow Illumar. This is just made with yellow dye and glowstone. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to automatically craft with this luminous crafting table. I think we have to hit this with our resonating wand automatically. Maybe the mechanical user works actually on second thought, but I don't think there's a way to automatically input to this table. And the last witch's cauldron is just finished crafting, which means I think we can craft up our Lightwell. We have some rock crystals in our ME system. We have the sparkling aquamarine, we set this up last episode. We have also the recipe for the runed marble with the rune of the orb, but I don't think we've made these marble arches yet. Although this is just a tier 1 rune, or tier 2 rune from Botania, and I think this can be any type of marble, so we'll put in a processing pattern for this. You know what, now that I'm crafting these, this actually might have been a bit overkill to make 4 of these things. I don't know if we can keep 4 of these actually filled. Oh well, we have them now. So yeah, we now have to use our Lightwells to create Starlight. And without timing a bottle, this process is very painful. So I think we'll want to passive this actually. Let's just get all 4 of these going. And obviously we're not going to set up our Astral Sorcery stuff here. But if you're not familiar with the way Astral Sorcery works, we basically need to have high starlight to be able to craft with the Starlight Crafting Altars, until we get to the Iridescent Altar, in which case it doesn't actually matter where you place it. Alright, so now with our starlight, we can throw in some wood. And this will turn it into infused wood, which we have to craft with some more of these Abyssal Craft coins. We'll need 1 more pair of Goggles of Revealing, and we'll put these together with the glass lens that we made earlier on. Oh, but yeah, as you can see here, we don't have enough starlight to start this craft, so we basically have to wait until nighttime. Sun's going down though, so it shouldn't take too long. Aha, we have the power of the light. Let's make our looking glass. So for this thing, we have to discover all of the constellations we found from the constellation paper. I think if I remember right, this one is Visio. Yeah, there we go. And it even shows up in the sky now. Man, that lightning is very distracting, isn't it? Let's go turn that thing off. So these astral constellations only appear at nighttime, but not all of them appear every night. So it's a little bit of a chance game to look for these things. So far, I think we've only got Visio out tonight though. So I'll keep checking for the rest of these things later on. But I think in the meantime, we can craft our Starlight Crafting Altar and get our Astral Sorcery area up and running. So for that, we do need some marble pillars, which are actually crafted with Thaumcraft Ancient Pillars. And this I think we find in the Emptiness dimension, and I believe we should have some of these. But apart from that, we made the runed marble, some mystical iron blocks, and a tank of liquid starlight. Alright, so we managed to get our Starlight crafting altar up and running here. This isn't going to be a permanent location for this, however we did craft up this Phosic resonator as part of the quest. And when we hold this at night we can see concentrated areas of starlight, which should always ensure that we have enough starlight here in the crafting altar to be able to craft all of the recipes we need. I did also make some more conducted impetus, which we're going to need here fairly soon for the Attunement Altar, and also this floating crystal. And now that we have the crafting altar here, we can also upgrade our looking glass into the telescope. This telescope is a placeable version of the looking glass, and it makes things a little bit easier to find. Alright, so yeah, the next part of the quest here is to make this floating crystal. This does mean we need a hefty amount of starlight here actually though. So to make starlight generation a little bit easier, I've hooked up our Lightwells here to a chest, and all inputs and outputs have to come from the bottom side of this Lightwell. So we can harvest a bunch of this rock crystal ore with our Fortune 5 pick. And we'll put all of these rock crystals in the chest, which should distribute it among the Lightwells. And these rock crystals will actually last quite a while here in the Lightwells. Although yeah, this is not going to be a permanent setup here. Eventually we'll move all of our Astral Sorcery things once we get access to the iridescent ore down here. And let's also upgrade this tank. So yeah, for the floating crystal we need 6 more glass lenses, 6 more pieces of sodium, the conducted impetus, and 5 liquid starlight tanks, which is 16 buckets each. While we're waiting for some more starlight, I also set up this magma crucible and fluid transposer. And this is set up to craft sooty marble, which we have to fluid transpose molten skyfather ingots into regular marble to give the sooty marble, and this is used in a lot of the multi-block structures from Astral. And after we get access to our floating crystal, we'll also need the linking tool, which is made with infused wood arches this time. Oh, and it's also just gone night as well. Unfortunately it's raining, which means we can't discover the constellations. However, we can craft up our linking tool. And it looks like we've got Vorsio out tonight as well. I forget the name of this one, but I'm pretty sure this is another major constellation. Yeah, Decidia. And with that, I think we've actually discovered all 5 of the major constellations. There is a handful more to discover, but those are secondary and tertiary constellations that I don't think we can discover quite yet. And this I thought was another astral craft, but it turns out we have to do it in the elite crafting table. And we can make our first floating crystal. And this is hopefully the last time we do this with this recipe for the floating crystal. I think we'll need a few of these in the end, but after we make some stardust, we can do it with this recipe here, which is significantly cheaper actually. And speaking of the star metal, it's actually the next quest for us here. So in this pack, I mean normally in Astral, I think star metal is made by infusing iron ore, but things are not quite so simple here. So we have to use Ludicrous Ore, which is made from ludicrite and stone. And ludicrite is made by crafting the block from elementium, plutonium, and the ender cores. Yeah, there is a seed for this, but it is tier 5, and it's going to be a while before we can get access to this. So let's just have some fun and automate this process. So first of all, we have to automate the ludicrite block. And I don't think we want to buffer too much of this stuff because this is expensive, so should we automate these ender cores though? Yeah, you know what, let's do passive ender cores, which is going to be a lot of fun actually, and a lot of filtering. Yeah, there's going to be a few more steps in order to get this up, and it'll delay our astral progress, but I think in the long run it's going to be worth doing this. Yeah, so to make these inactive ender cores, we have to first of all passive obsidian sticks, or obsidian rods, one of the two. So let's just use a couple of the species that we have freed up now. And set the recipe for obsidian sticks. This is probably going to be one of the easiest steps in this process. Alright, so yeah, the next part is to make some of these ender alloys, and I believe we have the basic one. Yeah, we have the basic ender alloy with the enderium and osmiridium, but we have to add 2 more alloy smelters, one with steam and rustonia and ender ropes, also have to be automated here. And for the advanced ender alloy, we have to add pink slime and crystalline alloy, both of which we have on passive already. So I think we'll continue to repurpose these alloy smelters. A lot of these are now obsolete since we have the mystical agriculture seeds. And thank you, by the way, for all of your suggestions on what to do with all of these setups. I think we're going to leave them. A lot of you guys seem to like the idea of leaving all of these setups in place in the base. So yeah, first one here we're going to change is the bronze, since we have bronze seeds, and in fact this has to be an alloy smelter instead. And then we have to filter in the ender rope, steam and rustonia, and the basic ender alloys. And yeah, we still have to get back to the ender rope. And I guess we can also change the electrum one above it. This will also become an alloy smelter, and we have to change all of the filters on this as well. So this has to be enhanced ender alloy, crystalline alloy ingot, and pink slime ingots. So yeah, that should be all 3 of the ender alloy ingots. All we're missing now is this ender rope, But we should have everything for the ender rope, maybe except for the industrial leather. I don't remember if we put this on passive or not. Let's find out. We didn't put it on passive, okay. Okay, let's add this to a passive process then. Which also means we have to passive the treated leather, yeah, which is used in the water bucket. I think we were doing that on demand over here somewhere. Yeah, it should be easy just to provide this machine with all of the resources it needs. Okay, actually we're going to move the sequential fabricator. There is just not enough space over there. So I think I got the first part of this figured out. To make treated leather, we need to make lime dye, which I've added to this crafter down here, just using our dye essence. Oh, I just forgot to power this thing. Yeah, we have power down here. And we've given a water source with the unending bowl here, which should continuously craft us treated leather. And the inputs for this are basically free. We get all 3 of these things from Essence now, I believe. So there's no real reason to limit this drawer in any way. Although it looks like it's being used up for something. I think it maybe could be this over here for the Kraken scales. Or no, for the Kraken skin, that's what it is, yeah. This should fill the buffer relatively quickly here. But then we have to take this up to industrial leather, which means creating raw industrial leather. And the imp leather scraps and the buffalo hide scraps, I think we already have these two. Actually, we don't have the scraps, we only have the regular leather. So we're going to input these into crafters, which will craft into the internal slot of the buffer. Yeah, this should be on internal. And same with the buffalo hide, we have to turn this into scrap. And we also have to add all of these ingredients to the interface. And finally put them all together into raw industrial leather. And this will be sent to the external slot of the crafter. We will store the outputs in a drawer, but this time we will downgrade the drawer. But we have to turn this raw leather into industrial leather by infusing it with some sodium, which we do already have set up here, using the excess sodium we're creating for whatever this process is. I think it's for the tin shards, the iron and tin shards. We're left with this sodium byproduct, which we use in the chemical injection chamber, but I think we just had a pattern for this before. So let's add raw industrial leather to this interface, and filter it into the injection chamber, which will give us our industrial leather. And we'll just use the automatic output on the Mekanism machine here. And then we'll also storage bus the side of this, just to have access to our ME system. But we're still not done there yet. So we need to come back over here to our crafters and add yet another crafter. And inside this crafter we have to filter in all of the items for ender rope. There it is. There we go, there's ender rope for us. Which again will be stored... Hello zombie. Yeah, we really need some walls on this place again. Which again we'll store in a downgraded drawer. So that should now make its way over to this new alloy smelter to create our enhanced ender alloys. Store this in a drawer, which then should send it up 1 block. Process that down with the pink slime and crystalline alloy to give the advanced ender alloy. However, for the ludicrate blocks we needed the ender cores, not just the ender alloys. So we made the obsidian sticks already, we do have to do these ender cores though. So I guess we need another crafter for this, and maybe one for ender crystals. So I've filtered in again all of the ingots and the items here into this crafter, which crafts the 3 different versions of the ender core. Ultimately give us these inactive ender cores. It looks like we're still filling some buffers though, or maybe something got stuck with these ender alloys. Oh yeah, I just forgot to set the alloy smelter. This should be on output. There we go. Yeah, that should get the ball rolling. Now the buffer in the crafter is full, so when we turn this on, we have passive inactive ender cores. And since this material is such an expensive material, like it costs so many steps to do this, and it's probably overkill actually now that I'm thinking about this, but hey, why not? Passive everything, right? But instead of doing a drawer output, I think we're just going to storage bus this crafter, and we'll set it to extract only, so that our ME system will pull directly from the machine. I'm not sure we want to do this step on passive, to be honest. We may just do it as we need it, and we'll just see what our star metal requirements are. It should be really quick to craft though, with our ender cores being on passive. Yeah, so we'll add this recipe in, which we'll pick up for the quest. And so now we have to make this into star metal. I don't think there's any other use for ludicrate other than for star metal. So in that case, let's just add this as a passive process to send all of the ludicrate ingots that we get into this induction smelter, which I think used to be for redstone alloy. You just have to change the filters again to stone and ludicrate ingots, which will give us our ludicrous ore. Pick up 3 for the quest. Oh, it wants the star metal for the quest, okay. So yeah, I guess we have to automate the production of star metal. Okay, so just to make sure that this works, if we place this floating crystal we made, place in our ludicrous ore, and we link this to this block. It might take a second, and I think it's better at night. It's more efficient at night, that is. But eventually, it did turn into Starmetal Ore. So now the question is, do we get ore from this, or ingots? I think we're going to get ore. Yeah, we do get ore from this. So what is the best way to process this? I think it's going to be this Tectonic Initiator Augment, which gives us 3 dust. Is there anything else better than that? I bet the sag mill actually gives us a better output, so long as we use the good grinding balls. Yeah, I think we'll set up a sag mill to process all of our star metal, but that's kind of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. First we have to set up this, this floating crystal. So I'm trying to decide where I want to place this, and obviously we need sky access for this floating crystal to work, so we can't put it in any areas underground. So I was thinking that we maybe actually open up this space here. Yeah, I think I like this idea. We do have to somehow find an applied energistics connection over here though. I think this leads through to the corridor. Yeah, underneath this floor is going to be a main line, isn't it? Which is no good. We need a P2P connection. Maybe there's one under here actually. We might be able to grab a few channels off this line. Yeah, and then something like this could work. So we have our floating crystal above with sky access, but then we have 3 sets of block breakers and block placers. These will need some power, so we'll run some conduit along for each one. Let's do it underneath here actually, just to keep things a bit cleaner. And then we're going to round robin the Ludicrous Ore into all 3 of these block placers. And we'll make sure we set round robin on the extract of the interface. Let's also just pre-craft 10 Ludicrate blocks while we're at it, and convert these to ingots, where they should be sent to the induction smelter. And it should show up as Ludicrous Ore fairly soon here. Oh, wait a sec, yeah. I didn't think about this problem though. This is just going to break the Ludicrous Ore. Yeah, we have to filter this somehow. Okay, we're going to use integrated dynamics for this instead. So all we need here is 3 world block importers. Hook this up with some logic cable, and stick an interface on the output drawer here for star metal. Then we just need 3 block variables for Starmetal Ore. And when we put this inside the world block importer as pickup block, this will ensure that it only breaks the Starmetal Ore. There, and all the outputs will be put in this drawer. You just have to put a storage bus on this. I guess we can put it underneath. There, and now we have almost fully passive Starmetal Ore. We just have to add the sag mill now to sag mill this down with the grinding balls. So I'm finding that our alloy smelter here that creates the basic ender alloy is actually quite slow with this octadic capacitor. So why not switch it out with the stellar alloy one? Oh yeah, now we're processing. So I've also added in the sag mill to process down our star metal. And I changed the drawer output to be star metal dust, or star dust. And the interface from the block importers just goes straight into the sag mill. However, when we process this, we do want to make sure that we have a grinding ball in there. And from what I can see, the best grinding ball is actually the stellar alloy, which gives 230% main output. I don't think there's anything else that beats that. So I think until we get automated stellar alloy, I think we'll just make sure that we activate this manually and make sure that we have the grinding balls in there. So yeah, this setup isn't going to be forever, but we're going to need it, I think, to get through Astral, and also to get through the next chapter. So yeah, let's process down all of our star metal ore and see how much we get from this. Oh yeah, and we get the cobble byproduct, which we just send out on the right hand side into the trash can down there. Oh wow, we're already up over a stack. Take out the drawer downgrade. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, over 100 by now. Awesome. Okay. Alright, so now that we have access to star dust, we can create the Starmetal ingots, which I think we just have to smelt. Yeah, we can just smelt the dust for this, so we'll add a processing pattern. And this actually takes up the last slot in our furnace interface. Man, we have a lot of patterns encoded by now. Look at all this. Alright, so the Starmetal actually opens up a couple of different options for us. A lot of these are optional, like the conversion wand, and also the formation wand. I used to use this in interactions actually, it was quite useful. Looks like we'll need it for the wand of animation later on, but let's just skip this craft for now, I think. The next 2 things we're interested in though is the Attunement Altar, and also the next tier of crafting altar, which is the Celestial. Both of these are quite large multi-blocks actually. The Attunement Altar especially, we need 225 sooty marble. And then as for the blocks themselves, well, this is, yeah, I think I've seen this earlier on. Yeah, this is why I crafted extra impetus crystals. And we have the star metal, we can create some more ludicrate blocks. The Sol V crystals is easy enough to do, and some ruined marble. And then as for the Celestial Altar, it's just more sodium. Actually, do we have sodium? We do have sodium, nice. So after a little bit of crafting and gathering, we can upgrade to the Celestial Altar. Man, that is one of the coolest particle effects in the game. So we'll pick it up just to make sure we get it for the quest. And then we can use the Astral Sorcery Sextant, which can show us the outline of the multi-block. And we have to incorporate these extra blocks into the structure. As right now, if we try to craft with this, it's not going to let us because it's an invalid multi-block. And we're just waiting on the rest of these Solvi crystals crafting. So it looks like we're actually out of Steaming Restonia, which is something I did not expect to see here. I'm trying to gather the rest of the materials for the multi-block structure. And yeah, for the runed marble we need runes of the orb, but ultimately we need like 18 Steaming Restonia. And it turns out we're actually out of DT fuel. And the reason for that is because, well, I covered the solar neutron activator. And I haven't actually touched this for actually a few weeks by now, so whatever backlog we used to have seems to be gone by now, so let's get this process going again. I'm really surprised actually it lasted so long. I think we're buffering this in a ultimate gas tank somewhere back there. Oh yeah, now we're filling our buffers again. But addressing all those issues means we now have all the materials ready for the Attunement Altar. Now we have to craft this behemoth of a multi-block. Has to be one of the biggest multi-blocks in the game. Oh, it turns out we're actually missing some more ruined marble. I must have picked it up for the quest before and used it in the craft. But one of the other things that we need to get attuned is some spectral relays, which in this pack are made with spectral dust and extreme energy lasers, which is a very interesting craft to put them in. But let's start off and make 10 of these things. Alright, so with the attunement, we can attune various things, including ourselves actually, and we get access to very, very powerful perk points, which can give you various buffs, like permanent buffs, throughout the game. And that is where these constellations come back into play. So depending on which constellation you pick, will give you a different starting bonus. So for example, the Decidia one will give you extra melee damage, the Visio one gives you move speed, and the one we're going to be going for is Visio. So we have to hold the constellation paper in our offhand, place down the spectral relays, and this will draw out Visio for us. And it looks like we are lucky enough to have it out in the night sky. So when we hop on the altar, we get a really cool animation. This takes way too long though. You spin for ages on this. But now we are attuned to Visio, and we unlock this perk tab in the Astral Tome. So yeah, the Visio trait starts us off with +1 added reach, and we gain experience by travelling the world. So yeah, basically the more we move about, the more experience we get. I don't know if it's affected by flying, although it must be, yeah. We just leveled to 2, so we can just keep flying around here and level up. Now we're on level 3, level 4. It doesn't stay this quick though, the XP requirements are exponential. So yeah, we're going to pick up a few perks. 3% increased movement speed, more move speed, and dodge chance. But the one we're going to be going for here is the Singularity, which is the middle perk, and this unlocks all of the other routes. So if we were to attune to a Vorcio, we would start on this one, but picking up the Singularity one will actually unlock all 5 of these nodes. But yeah, leveling up is going to take a little bit of time. There's a few tricks we can do, but it's something we'll come back to later on. Oh, there's level 6. Let's continue on with our quests here, and to finish out the episode, I would like to get access to the Starlight Infuser, which has a few unique recipes to it, mainly this resonating gem, and it also unlocks the next tier of leather, which is part of the reason why I wanted to automate the industrial leather today. We still have to do the tier 3, which is the blood infused, and then it goes through the Thaumcraft Crucible to make magical leather, and then through the Starlight Infuser to make star leather. So yeah, to make the infuser is just more of the same things that we already have. 2 more tanks of Starlight, and a bunch of sodium ingots. So I was just flying around the base, trying to gather up all the materials for this craft, and we're already level 10. So let's pick up the Singularity, which actually does grant 3 additional perk points. And we're going to grab the Evorcio mining trait, which gives more mine speed. Most importantly, it gives us experience by breaking blocks, as well as the movement trait. And then from here on out, I think we're just going to be taking all of the perk experience. So scattered throughout the questbook, there is various perks that increase the perk experience gained, and this can help you to more quickly level up. But before we get there, we'll reset our perk points and reskill into a better build, so to say. Aha, there's our Starlight Infuser. Alright, so this is also another multi-block, and I'm wondering if actually we can squeeze it in over here. Now that this is built, it does sort of stick out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? It doesn't really belong in this base, but I mean, there's not really a lot you can do about these astral multi-blocks. So in a way, you're kind of forced to build your base around it. And it's not like you can hide these underground either, because they do need sky access. So yeah, to be able to craft with this thing, we have to click on the items that we want. I think unfortunately we can only do this one at a time. Click with our resonating wand. There is a chance for this to consume the starlight around here. So we obviously want a way to automatically place down the starlight. There is a way from Astral Sorcery, however I don't think we have access to that quite yet. So I've hooked up an ender tank here, which we have hooked up to the Lightwells that are up there. And I think for this we'll use, once again, integrated dynamics. I think it's just going to be the simpler way. We could also use Applied Energistics, but are we missing another piece of Starlight? I think we are here. Yeah, this is an interesting crafting mechanic to get around. Although it's sometimes a little difficult to see which ones are not filled. Is it the middle? I think it is. Nice, there's our quest. So that opens up a lot more options for us in Astral Sorcery, and I think we're actually almost at the Iridescent Altar. Yeah, well, we're not too far away from this, but we also have to look into rock crystal growing, which is something I think we'll save for next episode. We'll wrap things up here. Let me know about the placement of this thing. It's not too late to move this. We're going to come back next time and hopefully finish out Astral Sorcery, which will then open up Galacticraft for us. But I think before we hop into Galacticraft, we should almost have access to the tier 4 seeds. So yeah, that is going to do us for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.